During the 7 years of abundance, Joseph amassed for the king a great supply of grain, which he sold to both Egyptians and foreigners. The famine, having extended to all the neighboring countries, caused Joseph's brother, with the exception of Benjamin, to go to Egypt in search of wheat. Joseph recognized his brothers, who prostrated themselves before him, and therein fulfilled in part his dreams. He received them roughly and accused them of being spies, thereby compelling them to give him information about their family. Desiring to see Benjamin, Joseph demanded that they substantiated their statements by sending one of their numbers for Benjamin, while the others remained behind. He accordingly imprisoned them for 3 days, and then sent them away with wheat, retaining Simeon as a hostage. The famine in Canaan continuing, Jacob was again obliged to send his sons to Egypt for corn. As Joseph had commanded them not to appear before him again without Benjamin, Jacob was compelled to let Benjamin go with them. He sent also a present to Joseph in order to win his favor, together with the money which had been, by Joseph's order, put into their sacks. The second time, Joseph received them very kindly and prepared a feast for them, but paid special attention to Benjamin. Desiring to know what his brothers would do if, under some pretext, he retained Benjamin, Joseph gave orders to fill their sacks with corn, put their money into their sacks, and put his silver goblet in Benjamin's. On the following morning, the brothers departed, but before they had gone far, a messenger overtook them, accusing them of stealing the goblet. The messenger searched their sacks and found the goblet in Benjamin's sack. This compelled them to return. Joseph reproached them for what they had done, and Judah, speaking on behalf of his brothers, expressed their willingness to remain as slaves for Joseph. The latter, however, declined their offer, declaring that he would retain Benjamin only. Overcome by Judah's eloquent appeal, and convinced of his brother's repentance, Joseph disclosed himself to them. He inquired after his father, but as they were too much amazed and startled to answer him, he assured them that, in treating him as they did, they had been carrying out the will of God. He then urged them to return home quickly, loaded them with presents for his father, and supplied them with vehicles for the transportation of the whole family. Joseph met his father in the land of Goshen. He recommended his brother to represent themselves as shepherds, so that they might remain in Goshen unmolested. Then he presented 5 of his brothers to Pharaoh, who granted them a domain in Goshen, and, after having introduced Jacob to Pharaoh, Joseph domiciled the whole family at Pharaoh's command in the land of Ramesses, where he supplied them with all they needed. As a ruler, Joseph changed the system of the land tenure in Egypt. The famine being severe, the people first expended all their money in the purchase of corn, then they sold their cattle, and finally gave up their land. Thus, all the cultivated land in Egypt, except that of the priests, became the property of the crown, and the people farmed it for the king, giving him 1/5 of the produce. Hearing of his father's sickness, Joseph went to him with his 2 sons, whom Jacob blessed, conferring upon Joseph, at the same time, 1 portion more than the portion of his brothers. Joseph carried Jacob's remains to the land of Canaan, where he gave them stately burial. His brothers, fearing that he had only been waiting until after their father's death to avenge himself upon them, sent to implore his forgiveness. Joseph allayed their fears and promised that he would continue to provide for their wants. He lived to the age of 110 and saw his great-grandchildren grow up. Before his death, he made the children of Israel take an oath that when they left the land of Egypt, they would take his bones with them. His body was embalmed and placed temporarily in a coffin. At the Exodus, his bones accompanied Moses and were finally buried in Shechem,